Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya. Same, thank you so much for the support. Hope you all are doing great. See, this video, you really need to watch it to the end because there are informations that I am sure you all already are beginning to think. Maybe some people haven't said it, but I know my people already. They are critical thinking. You remember that I brought a video yesterday that was talking about Groypers, all right? And now there is something going on, and I am sure you all may have sensed that or know that, but probably didn't say a lot because sometimes when somebody is alive, some stories do not surface, not until the person is no more. You start hearing stories and things will start surfacing. This is more like it. So only to find that majority of these people in top White House are femboys. They criticize LGBTQ, but they love to go behind doors and do something. And names has actually been mentioned, which I am not going to bring here. But I think I should start doing only members videos. I think I will have to start doing that, right? Man, the truth is that there are so many things you and I need to think of. And this man's unaliving has exposed and opened up some certain things. I hope you know that Charlie and the head of the White House has actually been close for so long. You will hear the story at the end. Let's get into this video.
White people downplay racism because they can only understand it from the concept or the perspective of reverse racism. And because it's so entirely frivolous, they think that racism itself is entirely frivolous. Hey, don't wear braids, white people. They think that that is reverse racism. And so in their minds, they think that our experience of racism is as frivolous as that. They take being told not to wear braids as an affront to their humanity because they're comparing that to racism, like the real racism that we face. But even within their indignance, editing joy here, it's indignation. I don't know why I said indignance. It's not a real word. Of like, how dare you tell me not to wear braids? They still find it so frivolous. So in their minds, they're like, oh, so this is the racism y'all are talking about? It's not that bad. But they'll still fight for their right to wear the braids because they think that that is fighting for their humanity. The whole time we're telling them not to wear braids because their hair will fall out. And they don't understand that the systems that govern how we move and how we decorate ourselves and our bodies are institutional. It's not just people on the internet saying, hey, black people, straight hair is better. It's entire institutions punishing you for not wearing your hair straight. Institutions that affect your livelihood, your mobility within society. Whether or not you're deemed a threat by this country's security apparatus that also has the power to shoot you on sight. We're truly living in different realities.
I wanted to jump on and add some quick gloss on recent events that might help folks who aren't plugged into the far corners of the internet make better sense of the motivations and actions of two major right wing groups that are involved in the recent events. If you're looking at a swirl of cryptic memes and trying to reverse engineer a motive, you're going to misread this story. What looks like politics is often subculture. What looks like a manifesto is sometimes a dare wrapped in a joke, wrapped in a void. And two families on the right keep getting mashed together in coverage. There's the mainline far right Christian nationalism, and then the Groyper scene, especially its black-pilled accelerationists. They overlap in rhetoric and enemies, but they don't want the same future, and they don't use the internet in the same way. Groypers refers to a youth-driven online far-right scene that's associated with the America First brand, which is led by Nick Fuentes. Black pill comes from incel forums and signals fatalism. So no improvement in humanity is possible, and thereby despair is rational. Acceleration in extremist context means stoking crises to hasten societal collapse. You can think of this as builders versus burners. And so for Christian nationalism in its hard right form, it's still builder energy. It insists that the nation is or should be explicitly Christian, prizes hierarchy, order, and a return to rightful social roles. But the strategy is institutional. They want to win elections, they want to pass laws, they want to staff the courts and capture the school boards and rechristen the public square. And you hear vocabulary about restoration and revival and sovereignty and virtue. And this imagined endpoint is a moral order enforced by the state. And even when their rhetoric gets apocalyptic, the plan is still state power. The Groyper world orbits a completely different sun. It's youth heavy, it's a coalition that includes a lot of streamers and online personalities, and it borrows from incel forums, gamer chat, crypto cynicism, edgelord comedy, and a lot of terminally online irony. Here's the core distinction. The black-pilled wing does not believe in reform, not of institutions, not of culture, and not of people. The black pill is the conviction that decline is irreversible. If nothing can be redeemed, then the only creative act is negation. And that's where accelerationism comes in. In this context, acceleration means pressing on every social fault line, race, gender, religion, class, until something breaks. It is not policy, it's physics. The expectation is collapse, followed by nothing. Unlike some white supremacist or apocalyptic Christian variants that at least fantasize about what comes after, mainstream black pill content rarely sketches a constructive post-collapse order. It's entropy worship. Speed the unraveling and enjoy the spectacle. A quick detour so that we don't mix wires here. Black-pilled accelerationism is not the same thing as tech bro AI accelerationism. The latter is a futurist, albeit doomy faith about speeding technological progress even at humanity's expense. Black pill is a social political fatalism that invites breakdown. Different crowds, different goals. It's also distinct from the more formal Christian nationalist project. The language sometimes rhymes, both talk about decay, but Christian nationalists think institutions can be repurposed. Black-pilled Groypers think the institutions are rot. So why the memes that look like riddles? Because the memification is the ideology. The style is the substance, or as Marshall McLuhan said, the medium is the message. The meme factory does 3 jobs at once. Number 1, it allows for recruitment at scale. So high contrast, darkly funny, and deliberately absurd images travel farther than policy papers. A kid who would never sit through a speech will swallow 100 images that say more, faster, and sneakier. Number 2, plausible deniability. Irony is a Kevlar vest. If you take it literally, they were just joking. If you miss the reference, you reveal you're out of the club. The ambiguity is the shibboleth. And desensitization, number 3. Shock is used like a gym routine. The first time you see it, you flinch. The 10th time, you smirk. By the 100th time, a position that once looked unthinkable has been normalized inside the in-group. That's why the aesthetics feel like a mashup of cartoon frogs and Wojaks and glitch art and millenarian doom and consumer culture parody. The mix says nothing matters, everything's a joke, nihilism is the punchline. So who gravitates to black pill spaces? It's often younger men who feel exiled from status games that they think they can't win, like dating, elite colleges, prestige jobs, coherent communities. It's cheap status. Attention is the currency, and it bonds people who may never meet offline. That helps explain the why behind cryptic inscriptions or symbol-laden posts around real-world incidents. From the outside, we assume conventional motives. Ideology leads to a plan, leads to an act. Inside black pill worlds, the act is also a content drop. It's performance for an audience that reads the references, a proof of membership to people you only know by handles. Decoding the references isn't about uncovering a coherent program. It's about recognizing an identity and a dare. Don't confuse the absence of a blueprint with harmlessness, however. A politics of negation can still inspire catastrophic acts because the metric isn't does it build, but does it break? This is why For the Lulz can be both a smirk and a sincerely held view that only destruction has meaning. However, not every meme holds the same ideology, so the same image can be repurposed by different factions. What matters is the cluster: fatalism, edgelord irony, collapse talk, and status seeking through shock. When analysts try to read an incident through the old left-right scripts, they're going to miss the performance layer. If the actor is steeped in black pill culture, the motive vector points as much toward in-group status and mimetic spectacle as it does toward any policy aim. That doesn't excuse anything. It just changes the explanatory frame. You're not parsing a legislative program. You're reading an attempt to turn reality into a toxic in-joke. Last piece: why the black pill is sticky. It packages three things people crave when they feel powerless: certainty, community, and a role. Certainty says the game is rigged and doomed. Community says we are the ones who get the joke. And a role says speed the ending. It is a toxic story. It's also tidy, and it's available 24/7 on your phone. The antidote is not to romanticize institutions that have failed people. It's to refuse the seduction of entropy as identity. Call the black pill what it is: a permission structure for cruelty wearing the mask of sophistication, then do the unglamorous work of making meaning and belonging where spectacle can't compete. That is the difference in one line. Christian nationalism is a plan to rule. Black-pilled accelerationism is a plan to ruin. If you keep that polarity in mind, the memes stop looking like mysterious runes and start reading like what they are: billboards for a politics of nothing. I have a corollary essay up in the orange place on kitsch and its role in mainline right-wing Christian nationalism if you're so inclined, but otherwise I will see you soon.
To have a feminine boyfriend that strengthens the Groyper speculations. They are obsessed with femboys. Oh man, the chronically online wokeness is paying off. There exists a subsection of incels who are so celibate and hateful and fearful of women that they groom other incels into feminizing themselves for the sake of the cause. They call themselves operators and cosplay as characters like Ghost from Call of Duty and other very, very militarized characters in gear just to take that gear off and then being all ooh or oh whoa, hey, look at that. To be more specific, because I know a lot of you are actually looking for information, they wear military cosplays, but underneath those cosplays are like lingerie and knee-high socks. There's even a subsection of femcel who does the same thing, and the Groypers hate them. People are just now finding out that there exists a whole subsection of alt-right that genuinely views MAGA, the Make America Great Again movement, as liberal. And you're not even in the pipeline yet. You're looking at it from a way far away.
Ladies, I just found out what a Groyper was. I'll be real with you. As someone who's like, you know, politically in the know, I understand kind of like the factions of the alt-right and like their many, you know, faceted sort of positionalities or whatever, but I also like to go outside and get drinks with friends and like not be on 4chan. So let's do the definition together for a second. Hold on. Okay. The Groypers, sometimes called the Groyper Army, are a group of alt-right white nationalist and Christian nationalist activists led by Nick Fuentes of, you know, Your Body, My Choice fame. Members of the group have attempted to introduce alt-right politics into mainstream conservatism in the United States and participated in the January 6th United States Capitol attack and the protests leading up to it. They have targeted other conservative groups and individuals whose agendas they view as too moderate and insufficiently nationalist. The Groyper movement has been described as white nationalist, homophobic, nativist, fascist, sexist, anti-Semitic, and an attempt to rebrand the declining alt-right movement. So I guess this Robinson boy was one of these. I keep thinking about that vigil in California for Charlie Kirk that quickly turned into a tiki torch rally where they started screaming at the top of their lungs, "White men fight back." Fight who, girl? Genuinely, fight who? Got almost a dozen HBCUs literally thousands of miles away from Utah that are getting put under lockdown because they're receiving credible racist threats of violence. Whole time, you know what I mean? It's just like, what's really going on? Like, what are you really mad about? You know what I mean? And this just goes to show for me, and I said this in an earlier video, people keep talking about how this is going to make things worse. It will just function as an excuse for things that people already wanted to do. What do HBCUs have to do with an assassination attempt of a white supremacist in a majority white state that has been red for years, that has voted conservative for years? What do black people have to do with that? Especially when the assailant seems to be someone who found the victim to be not conservative enough. Because it's not really about the action, right? It's not really about the moment that it happened. What it is about finding an excuse to act on your worst impulses as a bigot.
If you're having trouble wrapping your head around the Groyper and kind of the dark right corners of the internet, I want to share a story about this website called Vote for the Worst that was really popular when American Idol had its first original run. It's kind of like one of the birthplaces of meme culture. So Vote for the Worst started on like message boards, which were kind of like online forums, like a progenitor to 4chan, where people would have usernames and they would just kind of create community by like speaking on these kind of like threads of messages. And American Idol, of course, they're always looking for like the best singer in America. But Vote for the Worst realized that they actually would always kind of put on a couple joke contestants that like weren't meant to be taken seriously, were meant to be like cannon fodder or like early outs, kind of support the storyline of like the singers that they really wanted in the end game. And I would say probably the most famous Vote for the Worst story was Sanjaya in season 6. He was so clearly meant to be like, to play like the heel, like the buffoon, the kind of clown of the season. But this website was like, let's vote for him. Let's vote for the worst contestant. And kind of, in doing so, created a lot of chaos among like mainstream viewers who were like, how could this person possibly get this far? And what started as kind of memification of a contestant grew into this website having reasonable sway in people's voting behaviors. So whether people wanted to join in on kind of this early memification of contestants, or whether people wanted to kind of say like F you to the system that was American Idol, kind of shoving their preordained contestants down your throats, or whether it was just like a fun way to kind of like engage in the counterculture of American Idol. There was a season where they like pushed super hard because one of the contestants was like a plant that had like a past record deal with one of the execs on the show, who was subsequently like voted out in favor of like much less qualified singers. And it kind of had these early roots in like, I want to watch this kind of like show's ecosystem burn, because it was a very kind of clear space of producer manipulation and just kind of wanting to break the veneer of like the reality of reality TV. And you would get so much shorthand like WGWG, which meant like white guy with guitar. And they were successful in like pushing WGWG to like win so many subsequent seasons. I would say most famously Philip Phillips over Jessica Sanchez. And so that's where you get these kind of like memes that become living, breathing things, like this like ooh-woo kind of thing. Like that is an anti-trans meme. That is like an emergent property or grows from the community of a certain message board or community. So like any millennial that like grew up in the early stages of the internet, it seems like this is like an echoing of history through a much more dangerous lens.
Black women are never going to trust us. They are never going to see us as true allies. They will always side-eye us as long as we continue to choose niceties and decorum over simply shutting up and saying, you know what, whatever reaction you're having is valid. I understand. The finger wagging I have seen from large creators who look a whole lot like me is astounding. You actually don't have to say anything. You know, like, I am not advocating for anyone to come on here and celebrate, but I'm also not going to lecture them if they do. This man specifically and repeatedly called out black people and black women as lesser than, as not having proper cognitive function to ever achieve anything on their own merit. You want to tell those people it's a little bit rude for them to not be sobbing into their pillowcases. I've seen multiple larger creators who look like me say, using his quote about the Second Amendment is not the gotcha you think it is. I'm not really sure anybody's trying to get a gotcha. They're just accurately reflecting the record. Is it being rude to accurately quote what he said in real life? This whole thing has made me realize that it's all a performance for a lot of you. The way these same people who are lecturing everyone else about how they should be reacting and how they should be feeling have also spoken with excited anticipation about it happening. And now what I'm realizing is when that does happen, you're going to come on here and be like, well, he was a grandfather. I'm not saying anybody should be feeling anything. You could be like me and pretty much feel nothing. But stop lecturing people he actively sought to harm on their not being sad enough that he's gone now. People are allowed to feel relief when they think an oppressor can no longer oppress them. You're not being an ally, and I'm not sure at this point you even want to be. I think you just want to hear yourself talk, which, look, guilty is charged, but there's got to be a line in the sand. You know what I mean? Like, you cannot be an ally and then go, you really shouldn't talk like that. You really shouldn't act like that. You're choosing this over everything. Because I've never seen you lecture a soul about the lack of reaction to Melissa Hortman. I've never seen you lecture a soul about the lack of reaction to repeated school incidents. Get it together. Hey,
This is all I got from this video. So, I posted something like this yesterday and I decided to snoop more on the Groypers, or what they call themselves, only to be finding out some certain things, which I actually did not bring here, but I can say it to you. So, I will bring it here when it is everywhere. You know that, right? So now I am kind of understanding that Groypers, they love femboys, right? And there are so many, like all these top politicians are Groypers, right? And I am asking, so these people, like, whoever said these people are Christians, forget about it. When I say forget about it, because the things that I am saying online, nah, I ain't giving joy at all. Because all these conservative men are very much upset with trans women, like seriously. And majority of them are hiding it. Like, why are you criticizing what you are or what you like? You and I know how much they detest work. You and I know how much they detest people that stand for people's variety. You and I also know how much they detest people that act somehow, maybe like LGBTQ. That is actually not woke. So please do not mix woke with LGBTQ. I always try to let people know about it, right? America is cooked and you all do not. Okay, my people know already. So I also learned that even JD Vance loves femboys. Allegedly. Let me not go and fall a victim. But I know that like most of the things I bring here are 99% accurate. I don't bring anything that is not accurate. The fact that these people criticize some certain things every day shows that they are actually what they criticize. Nick Fuentes, that man, I don't know what to say, but I ran into one of his videos where he talked about how he wouldn't want his child. He's actually Hispanic, for those that do not know. I don't know if he's fully or half white or half, but I know Fuentes is his Hispanic name. And he is one of their leaders. Man, what if the internet disappears today? What happened? How do you said you do not like LGBTQ, but why do you go behind and you want to stay with them? If I said, wow, there is something that I saw. I learned that Erica once contested for something beauty pageant in 2012, right? And the person that organized the pageant or owns that is JD, the head of the White House. And I've been thinking about some certain things. The head of the government organized, is the one that was like, and then from there, or was it from there? And this Charlie and him are very tight, very close. Man, whatever you are doing in this life, have critical thinking. One thing I know is that in the end, all these things, like all these circles and dots that I am dotting and plussing and minus, we eventually come out. I saw some people's comment on Erica's video saying that Erica is actually worse than you guys did not lie, because these people know what the other person know. But one thing I want her to, wherever she wants her voice to echo, let she take that voice to her community, not in my community, because we do not need that kind of echo. There are some closeness. I know people are parties, bodies, and all that. But if you look at the caucus, like, yeah, and the cult, kinda, the hierarchy of things, the things that I see around are just not normal. They are just not okay. They're just not okay. The entire situation of this man, the one that left the world, has really proven that some certain things are kind of connected. You just need to dot it all out, because there are some things we don't actually read meanings into it, but at some point you see some reactions. Because tell me, did you guys see what happened? That JD Vance, this man passed. It's not up to 1 week he passed, right? And JD Vance took over his podcast this thing to interview people. I just like the Roman Empire in a way. I've been saying all this. See, there is nothing anybody will say. There is a whole lot of meaning. But I am just going to leave it at this. But I want you to know that all these people that you see that are kind of like, anti-Black so much, and looking for every way and all that to bring some certain things down, they have karma. When I say there is karma, it means there is something that is actually not right. And you hear them, for a while, they are actually looking for a way to blame everything on Black people, because now they are saying that the guy that he's dating like, I will draw the cut in here. Bye for now.